Hey guys, welcome back to Peitz Performance Tunes. My name is Alex Peitz, and today we have a special treat for you. Behind me is this badass Alpha Package C8 built by Recoil Racing using our Alpha components and also featuring a 15-inch conversion, which is also made by us. Guys, this thing is an absolute monster. It makes 1,200 wheel horsepower, so you're looking right about 1,400 horsepower at the crank, and this thing is an absolute blast to drive. Now we're going to get into some of the details of this package and some of the components you're going to see, and also highlight some of the build quality from Recoil Racing. So without further ado, let's get into the details. All right guys, here is the turbo kit. We love our precision 62, 66 millimeter turbos with our X-pipe. We're the first with an X-pipe on the twin turbo C8, and we really like that design a lot. These are in-house made tips. We turn those on the lathe. We have rings that we machine, and then we weld it all together, turn it down. They come out really nice. Also, our kit features 2 scavenge pumps as opposed to 1. We really like that because it basically makes it to where the car will never smoke as long as everything's hooked up correctly and everything's working how it should. Also, our intercooler is one of the biggest cores on the market. We're really proud of that intercooler. It does a really good job keeping things cool. We've got our heat exchanger located behind the driver's side in the wheel well there. It works really well. We also have an option to upgrade to our dual heat exchangers in the front of the car, which adds another 4 gallons of capacity total to the whole system, which keeps the car super, super cool. We call that our track attack package for cooling. So a lot of cool features with our turbo kit. And of course, Recoil executed this with perfection. Everything looks great. Everything's tight, all up in there. We have a lot of V-band clamps, a lot of adjustability, so you can really get the kit on there and you can install it once and it's going to look right, it's going to line up well, and it's going to do what you want it to do. Now we have the engine, the heart of the beast. The short block is built by Late Model Engines. They're here in Houston, Texas. They do a fantastic job. We've been working with them for years. This particular engine features forged pistons and rods from Manley Performance. It's about 10.7 to 1 compression ratio. What specific pistons and rods we choose for you will depend on the combo that you go with and how you spec everything else. Beyond that, one cool thing that Late Model Engines does is they add what I like to call snorkels in the engine valley. Basically, the LT2 comes from the factory with not so good of a crankcase ventilation system, especially when you start pushing the boundaries of the engine. So what Late Model Engines does is they add these provisions or these snorkels in the valley, which adds a lot of crankcase ventilation and allows the crankcase to breathe, and that goes up through the valve covers and into our catch can system. So that's a really cool thing that not a lot of other machine shops are doing with the LT2, so that's one other feature we really like about it. Beyond that, we have a camshaft from Brian Tooley Racing. This is our spec camshaft, and also we have upgraded components for the valve train, such as C8 trunnion rocker upgrade, hardened push rods from Manton, amongst many other things like pack valve springs and some other goodies thrown in there. So that's really the basics of the engine and the cylinder heads and the cam, and now we're going to move on to some other components that I want to highlight for you. You may have noticed this beautiful billet intake manifold sitting on top of the engine. This is also machined by Late Model Engines. It puts the throttle body in the stock location, so it complements our turbo kit really nicely, but also, and most importantly, it provides us with the ability to add the port injectors to feed this beast with all the fuel that it needs. Beyond that, it goes into the cylinder heads. These particular heads are stock castings that are CNC ported by Hooper's Heads. They do a great job. We've also been working with them for many years. Beyond that, we do have options for CID cylinder heads, which will go nicely with the 416 cubic inch engine, which we do offer that as well, in addition to different camshaft combos for a 416. So a lot of different ways you can go with this, but even with this combination, as you can see, it's making plenty of power just with stock casting cylinder heads. Speaking of catch cans, this car features our dual catch can setup from Mighty Mouse. So it has one sealed top can that goes back to the inlets of the turbos, using the vacuum that's there to help evacuate crankcase pressure. We also have a filter top catch can, which allows the crankcase to breathe at wide open throttle, but also has a check valve so it can be used at idle and part throttle to pull additional vacuum on the crankcase in those situations. Beyond that, we also have what we're really proud of is the Alpha fuel system. It features 3 425 liter per hour pumps from Deechworks in the surge tank that can be mounted in the trunk, in the front, or in the tunnel. In addition to that, the surge tank feeds the factory high pressure fuel pump. And beyond that, it also does feed the fuel rails as well for the port injection. It has dual regulators, one to regulate the pressure going to the high pressure pump, and one to regulate the pressure at the fuel rails, then returns back to the surge tank and returns to the factory fuel tank. I know that's a lot to follow, but basically it supplies you with all the fuel you're gonna need to make basically as much horsepower as you could ever imagine. So let's move on. We have the 15-inch conversion. This thing looks absolutely amazing with these 15-inch weld wheels, the sticky Mickeys on the back, and the skinnies in the front. It really gives you that authentic street strip look and functionality. And this thing gives you the ability to put the power to the pavement, which is what you gotta do when you make 1,200 wheel horsepower. A couple other things I wanna mention about the 15-inch conversion. It's billet, machined here in the USA, and it also will give you no brake codes. We designed the 15-inch conversion to use the factory e-brake. That means that you get factory-like use, and it doesn't give you any messages on the dash, which is important to our customers. And so if it's important to our customers, it's important to us. Another cool feature about the 15-inch conversion is it comes with new upper control arms, which we make here in-house from chromoly, and they allow you to still adjust the suspension appropriately depending on what you're gonna be doing, what type of race you're gonna be doing, and how you need your alignment to go. So one other thing in the rear of the car, before we go and drive this thing, that I wanna talk about are the axles. They're made by G-Force, they're super strong, they're very stout, and you're gonna need those axles if you're launching this car at the drag strip. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hit the streets and let's see what this thing's got. Pretty good street manners. I mean, of course, it's a 1,200 wheel horsepower car, so there's going to be a little bit of differences in how the vehicle's going to drive. It's not going to drive stock like a Cadillac, we'll say, but it definitely drives pretty darn well for a 1,200 wheel horsepower car. Cruising down the road, you know, 8th gear, 75 miles per hour, about 1,500 RPM. You can have a conversation. Profile 4 right now, so that's about 20 pounds of boost, and it's hard to hook up on the street at 20 pounds of boost with no prep, but it's doing its best it can. But yeah, I think it's a monster. That was fun. Let's do it again. All right, so competitive mode, second gear. Man, she was spinning. This thing just brings a freaking smile to your face. It's hard to not love that sound and that spool of the turbos. The car was sideways right there. I was trying to stay in it for a little longer so you get a longer pull, but man, that was fun. Guys, this car is an absolute blast. I love it, and great job, Recoil Racing. And I hope you guys are enjoying this content. We got more coming soon, and as I get on the highway here, we got more coming soon, and we hope you've enjoyed it, and stay tuned.